What's up, lovely people, and welcome back to the channel today for a movie review. Shalise and I today, you know the girl, sweet and spooky over on the YouTube and whatnot. We're here to talk about a film that we have been targeting. I would say a little over a year plus, and that's no other than Shelby Oaks, which is being released by Neon October 24th, right in time for spooky season. This film is special because it is directed by one of ours. And when I say one of ours, we talk about the folks who went out there, bet on themselves, and really first and foremost made a name for himself on YouTube as a YouTuber and a film critic. Much respected, not just somebody out there putting out clickbait materials or just hot takes or even just reactions. But like Chris Stuckmann is definitely a person that is a trusted source in terms of reviewing films and television. And he stepped into the director's seat for his director debut for Shelby Oaks. Now, the journey here with this one is interesting because you kind of heard about it at one point. Then a lot of people got behind and supporting it. He got the funding he needed. And then all roads led to Fantasia of 2024 last year. And that's a film festival we covered. And I just had to be honest, to pull the curtains a little bit back here. It was probably one of our highest priorities of films we wanted to review last year. And at some point, very quickly, the film did premiere at the festival, but because we covered it remotely, they had it available and then it was removed. And I don't know what it was, but I remember just the idea of saying like, damn, I really wanted to see it. And I didn't know what to make of it. But quickly after it being removed from online coverage or virtual remote coverage of the film, Neon did pick it up. And thus you thought, cool, when the film gets picked up at the film festival, that means they saw something they like, which only could mean that this was going in the right direction. Some reviews did come out in person. People wasn't so positive on it. But you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt because it's like some people wasn't positive on it, but Neon decided to buy it and then quickly remove it. And it did have one more film festival release at Fright Fest, which was in August, which was also kind of, and fantastic last year too. This year, which brings you in on that.
Yes.
But nonetheless, just to be clear, I don't have enough evidence, but I have enough to understand that there is basically two iterations of this film. There was that first initial one at Fantasia before Neon went in and purchased it. And then there's the polished studio version of it that was released this year at Fantastic, which now that we have a chance to talk about that, we're definitely going to give you our thoughts. But yeah, just to kind of understand that, like, they went in there, I guess Neon dumped some money into it. I guess they believed in Chris. And I'm just gonna go off the limb and say I believe in Chris. I have my thoughts about this film, but I'm definitely interested in seeing his path as a director and writer going forward. But yeah, they dumped some money into it. There was a ton of reshoots. They brought somebody else in also to help co-write this film. And thus now we have the release, and you can check it out in theaters October 24th. Now, before I hand it over to my lovely host here, like, it's Neon, and I've just got to be honest here, man. Neon sells high on all of their films, each and every one. They aim to the top in saying it's the scariest film, it's the must-see film of the year. I mean, they do the advertising. They don't even let the critics do it. They say, like, this is what it is. You need to see it. So, like, for me, I thought that was interesting because now that we kind of know the slate of the releases, like, oh, well, they're just gonna say that again. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. So like you selling it high, which creates this high expectation for somebody who has their directorial debut, which in a way I think is unfair because when you start to attach those type of taglines to a film, when you are promoting it as found footage, which I would just go off the limb right now and say that's false, and then you also start tagging notions to it being compared to the iconic Blair Witch Project. This is a recipe for disaster, if you ask me. This is just not fair in terms of how you want to really get out there and let Chris promote his first film. That everybody knows the first film is getting out the gate. Sometimes it's a little rough. Sometimes people hit home runs, but nonetheless, people respect that you did it. You were ambitious enough to go do it. and you have success because you were able to do it. But all of those things, I have to tell you, as critics, we take note to that. We talk to each other. It's like, yo, they're saying Longlegs is the scariest movie of the year. Then we come out and say, well, I didn't quite feel that way. And, then say,
and 6 months ago, the scariest film of the year was Together.
Together, and they got more coming down the slate. So it's just really just my idea and sort of perspective in terms of going to these films is just like, you go in there unbiased, you go in there fair, you go in there, you do the job as critics, but like, you have to be blind not to see all the things that they're tagging attached to this for the film. But we're going to break it all down. We're going to give you all of our thoughts about it. But I think most importantly, now we need to talk about what this film is about. So help me out here. What is this film, Shelby Oaks, all about?
Yes, of course, directed by Chris Stuckmann. Shelby Oaks follows a woman's desperate search for her long-lost sister and falls into an obsession upon realizing that the imaginary demon from their childhood may have been real.
Well, how did that make you feel when you heard that? What was your intrigue? First of all, I'm sorry, let's go back real quick, because you also did mention, offline, but you mentioned that this was your high priority at Fantastic.
Yes.
Obviously didn't get the chance to see it there, but now that we both got a chance to see it after the festival, so this was sort of been your emotions through that wave of everything.
Yeah, so I have known about Chris Stuckmann. Obviously, I have, a YouTube channel, and I also do film reviews. So Chris Stuckmann's always been very well respected. I'm not like an avid viewer into which like I watch all of his videos, but I respect him. And I was also excited because, it's like if I were to direct a movie, which like a lot of us really want that opportunity. And, you're seeing like now it's being, executive produced by Mike Flanagan, which is really cool. And there's all these people that are supporting him and like Neon. And so I was like, wow, this is really cool. And also I'm a found footage girl. So I was like, okay, found footage, Chris Stuckmann, let's go. Love the title. The poster really looks like kind of Twin Peaksy, like What Happened to Laura Palmer vibes. Like, you know what I mean? So I was so excited. Didn't get in at Fantastic Fest, which was really sad. Everybody was so hyped for this. At Fantastic Fest this year, everyone's talking about this. Everyone's like, oh my God, Chris Stuckmann did the damn thing. And then I didn't get in. But nevertheless, a couple weeks later, got to see it. And I think like a lot of the marketing too, there was a line that was in one of the trailers that was like, Hereditary meets Blair Witch. In which I was like, that sounds great. Right? And then like I'm seeing all this imagery and I'm like, okay, right? And then I went in and there are really solid ideas and like good moments and the actors are great, but I definitely went in feeling slightly underwhelmed because I think it's marketed as a found footage, but it's like 3 different genres in one movie because we have very little found footage in the beginning. So I don't know, like it's I guess just underwhelming is the best word I can use.
Totally agree. Underwhelming is the word I'm going with it as well too. Also, as I meant, as you just said, found footage, girly as well.
Yeah.
But like the fact of the idea that like they didn't lean into the found footage when it's such a usable mechanic that a lot of people draw to. I mean, Paranormal Activity didn't make all that money because it tried to identify as something else. It knew what it was, it stuck with it. And thus it made a lot of movies, whether you liked it or not, but a lot of money was with it. And I think that when you market as found footage, that's what people are expecting. And it's almost hard for me to even say that this film is at all any found footage. Yes, there was footage of a recording in it, but in my eyes, that's what you sort of call stock footage in a way.
Footage was found.
Footage was found. Yes, exactly. So I was upset and underwhelmed that they didn't lean into the found footage aspect as hard as they could have. It was right there for them. They marketed it as such. And as you mentioned, the Hereditary and Blair Witch, I think the comparison to that is like The Walking Dead, when Negan came in and Negan started hitting people in the head with the bat. People was just like, I'm out. That's enough for me. And the reason I'm making the comparison to it is because Hereditary and Blair Witch are two projects that I know folks who are not big horror lovers that said that was it for me watching horror. Those are the films that I'm just completely done with because of that. The scariest movies they've ever seen. You put the two of those together and you marketed that and you say, here's that. That is the utmost of a bar that you have to exceed.
Exactly.
That it doesn't even sniff near it. And that's not, I'm not to be mean, but that's just what it is. And I think it is the marketing. But I will say, on the contrary, Chris's interviews and press run and tour has been very humble, very real, and very grounded. It almost makes me feel that his vision of the film, flaws and all, was probably more concise than when the studio got involved and the money got involved. Another writer got involved and the direction started to shift, and then the multiple genres are all in there and so on. So that's why I stand on the idea that like I am very optimistic in the direction of what Chris does next. Like fully, when he gets to say, I got the money and the support, I get to do this exactly how I need to do this. And it is like that. There's a lot of directors that don't get out the gate too clean, but then their second project, you're just like, there we go. There's the vision. There's what you've been trying to do. But really quickly, this is kind of talk about the cast here. First and foremost, our lead in this film, Camille Sullivan, she's very underrated. I don't know if everybody's familiar with her, but there was a film I watched called Hunter, I think it was called. That I was so impressed about how just the distress in her face, the discern, like just seeing her navigate and carry a film by herself, seeing her as the lead as this, I knew for a fact there was going to be no issues on that note. And she did. She carries the film for all the flaws and all. She's a great lead in this film. And the character and everything she goes through, it's easy to get behind her and through this journey, which is why I was saying the found footage aspect with her, my God, what a missed opportunity to attach it in first person and, or even switching the camera around on her time. That's how I
felt. Yeah.
Right there. She's a fantastic lead in this film. Two other names I'm about because I'm always going to support my guy, Michael Beach. He's in this film. Very minimally, but that's my guy, and I'm never going to be mad if I see a Michael Beach credit in there, as well as the legendary Keith David, still doing it. So the cast for itself, and I will say this too: the best thing you love about found footage films is that typically in found footage films, and also just in good horror films, when you see cast people that you don't know, that makes the film good to me because you automatically know that. When there's a big name, they kind of feel untouchable at times because why would you cast somebody to kill them off unless you just got buku money? But in the independent project, if you see names that you're not familiar with, that technically means that you can start to connect with characters and don't actually know their fate. And they did give you 4 people in the beginning of this film that I was like, oh, I don't know any of them. I wonder what's going to happen. And the film says, don't worry about it. You won't have much time with them at all, period. So I didn't even like they had a good cast and then they had a good make of a cast in terms of this genre that I don't feel like they just really utilize pretty good. So that's some of the things I don't know. I just didn't like that. It didn't lean full and it didn't lean hard into the found footage. They didn't utilize the some of the up and coming cast members or some of the less popular folks in terms of really having them keep you uneasy, because you just don't know. And that's the thing with these films. Like we know there's just going to be some measure of something supernatural and people go missing and etc. But like, if we're not actually able to connect with them or we're actually not able to follow the journey with them, then we're not even emotionally connected at all. Good thing Camille is so good because She's so good. Yeah, it just was the point I was just like, I don't know. I don't even know what to invest in at this point.
Yeah, a lot of the film relies heavily on Camille's ability to face act, and react to things. So she really carries the movie for me. I was very disappointed we didn't get more time with Riley because I wanted to feel more connected with this character so that I care as well that she's missing I want to be like, yes, what happened to her? But there is not enough time with her for me to like feel that. Like, and I keep bringing it back to this, but there's a lot I think of like inspiration from Twin Peaks, and even like the way she's shot and like in the found footage aspects that like remind me of Laura Palmer. But the reason why you love and care about Laura Palmer is because you learn so much about her in such a short time that like even though she's not on screen, you immediately care about her. So I wish we learned more than just like, oh, she used to have this YouTube channel and they were like these paranormal investigators. Like I needed a lot more to really be like, yes, what did happen to Riley? I want to know right now. Like, so that was disappointing. I wonder like if the other cut had more, like, I don't know. I wish I could see it, honestly. But I think that Chris has like really good ideas. There's clear inspiration to other horror movies like Rosemary's Baby, like all kinds of other horror movies in there. Like I'm excited to see what he does next. I would love to see an actual full found footage film and not like found footage for 5 minutes, then mockumentary style, then now we're in a regular movie. Like really confusing stuff. I felt like I was like spinning around. I'm like, oh, now we're here at this big house and it's shot like a regular movie.
And just to also give credit to his wife who also helped him co-wrote this, and again, I'd be on board to see what the two of them put pen to paper and do without the studio, and because they brought in somebody named Brett to re-edit the film. So again, that tells you, and this is not uncommon. This is not anything personally attached to him and maybe to Faith Film. The studio does this to everybody. There's plenty of studios that says, so we're investing, we're adding our touches, we're changing the name, we're going to change the direction of this character. They do it all the time. They say, hey, I like your lead, but we need a big name. We can market it, throw that person in there. These things happen. So again, but I think it's just fans and supporters of Chris and his wife. I'll be curious to see what a feature-length product looks like when they're in full control from A to Z. And, we'll see how long we have to wait. But also to your point of Chris, he is such a fan of the genre. There's tons of Easter eggs and nods towards not only internally to the story, but also just into other things. So like, this is a film I do feel you do want to keep your eyes glued to kind of see things and be like, oh, I know what that means. And I know what that's referencing to. You're not wrong. The film has great lore. I thought the film, I even thought the story itself was good. It's just how things sort of transgressed in this that I wasn't really so sure about. And I think in a way, instead of market it in these other genres, I think if they would have just let it been, because when you talk about when you watch the film, it's very unique in terms of its own sort of like the way how it mechanics and how it's blending through these different types of genres, instead of just saying it is a found footage. Like it's really not. It's just really not.
No.
Also, I want to give a shout out to the Newton brothers who comes in for the score. I mean, they can't do no wrong. And the score was fantastic.
It was.
So like, again, there's a lot of things that are positive, but I just think that probably the simplest way to put this is that like there was missed opportunities in terms of how they could have handled certain parts of the film. The film could have been more eerie at times. The atmospheric horror definitely non-existent to me when it easily could have been there. They had amazing set locations. The jail that they were in, I was like, this is dope. But I never felt a sense of dread at all in there. Like I was ready to be creeped out. And it's interesting because as soon as I saw the location, I thought Walking Dead. And I was like, Walking Dead made the jail feel very small. Of course, it was big, but it just felt eerie around every corner because you just didn't know what was going to happen. I never felt that. I never felt that at all. I just don't know. And you mentioned the character Riley, played by Sarah Dern. I'm going to say too, I agree with you, but I really, really agree with you when it comes down to when we actually do get to spend a little time with her. The transformation of this character and the arc with this character, I don't want to give away. They really put their foot in that. I was buying all day, every day, like, oh, this is This is a little unhinged, but we just never had enough time. And I think it would have worked so much better. We would have had time with her in the beginning so that the time at the end just really made sense, especially when I don't want to give anything away, but there would have just been moments at the end that would have just made so much more sense.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Yes.
So
it would have hit.
Yeah, it would have hit.
Yeah.
We have a sister looking for a sister, and we need to be in our seats for an hour and some change.
I want to feel like my heart is pumping out of my chest. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
And Camille's great, but it's like we need more like meat in the story. Yes. There needs to be more. It feels like stuff, like important things were cut out. Like it just why? Yeah. Give me the director's cut. Chris Stuckmann, give me the director's cut.
You know, honestly, somebody out there got it. Besides Chris, somebody got it and they seen it, you know. But yeah, even the ending of the film, I feel like the ending didn't really land. Like I get it, I absolutely get it, but I still like felt very underwhelmed in terms of the landing. And maybe the landing would have hit more if the beginning would have really utilized it. As a matter of fact, let me just give one more thing. Be patient with the film, because in the first 15 minutes, I was almost out instantly. And then about at the 15-minute mark, I was like, okay. Let's really see what they got. But it didn't even come out the gate strong for me. It took about 15 minutes for me to be like, okay. And I think that's almost to the point where we get to the title screen. Title screen comes in pretty late in this as well.
I did like the title card. That's something I want to say. I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
A little clever.
It's an independent film initially, but Neon comes in. So that's kind of I don't know if that's an accurate statement to even make at this point. And the reason I say that is to say because there's moments with CGI that is super noticeable. And then there's time where it's like, oh, this looks pretty practical, although I can't be practical. But like there was times I was like, this.
I was disappointed in that. Yeah. You
know?
I'm a practical effects girl. Like we could have did something really cool with those things. I don't know. Damn.
You know?
Damn. Director's cut.
What? Anything else you want to add to this? Anything in any facet things you like, didn't like with this?
I don't think so. I think I covered everything. It really just comes down to like feeling like the story was underdeveloped for me. I'm excited to see what Chris does next. I think he definitely has talent, and like he definitely shows that he is a big fan of the genre and can make something, worth watching.
Yeah, agreed. I thought, it doesn't come out the gate strong, so it's a little bit of a slow burn, but they did a good job in really, developing the lore, the backstory, the characters, the web between the characters. Like they established all of that, so there's really no mistaking in terms of what folks' involvement or sort of like placement in the film. Like they iron it all out, but it doesn't necessarily create this atmospheric like core, and they don't really utilize the found footage aspect of it very hard to almost at all. And as I said with the CGI, like it's there and it's noticeable at times. Definitely think it could have been a little bit more polished on that note. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm all for seeing what he does next. This is why I love independent films. So these are sort of reactions you get from them. You're just like, I get it, I understand. Everything's not going to be perfect. There's going to be issues. So I don't hate the film. Definitely don't love it. But I don't think it's towards Chris' fault in terms of being conflicted like this. I think it was the overselling of every marketing aspect. And of course, that does drive revenue, and the money is what it all matters. But when it really comes down to it, as our jobs, we want to make sure that like, you understand what you're getting into, and you understand that you're getting into a fully enjoyable film. And on that note, let's just end it with, did you enjoy the film? Did you not enjoy the film? And then what would you rate it from a critical or critique aspect of it? What is your critique of the film?
Yeah. I want to say I didn't hate this film. I enjoyed the beginning of the film, once we get to the second to third act, it was taking me out. I think it's a good first feature, but it leaves so much to be desired. It's shot well, you know, it's stylish. There's some things that are not so stylish when you get towards the end there, but overall, I usually give my ratings out of 5. For Shelby Oaks, I would give a 2.5 out of 5.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going 2 out of 5 as well. Yeah, again, can't reiterate enough. Optimistic to see what Chris and his wife can do next. Did not hate the film, was underwhelmed by the film, a little bit of a slow burn. There's things that I wish was heightened. The atmospheric horror wasn't really there. There was just some hiccups in terms of how certain parts of the plot or the story was moving. So not perfect, not overly bad. Just a really, a really good first film for a feature-length debut for somebody who went out there, bet on himself to go do this. That's a win for me. That's a 10 out of 10 for me. But for the film itself and for just alone as a film, it's a 2 out of 5. And we'll see what happens the next time I talk about it, because I got a really good feeling that the next time is going to be a lot better of an outing. So, but anyway, it's time for you all to go decide what you think about this film. Shelby Oaks is in theaters October 24th. Jump in the comments. Let us know your thoughts, the things you liked, the things you didn't like. Hell, if there's anybody out there that got to see that first cut back in the day before Neon came in there and got to get in there and do some of that re-editing, let us know your thoughts on that. I am.
Please.
That's the video I need. Man, somebody got that comparison video out there?
For
Tag
real.
me.
Same.
I am
please.
curious. I am curious. So
let's start mass commenting on Chris's stuff. Give me the director's cut.
Thank y'all so much for watching another review. We'll see y'all back very soon.